Hey, everybody. Here I am. I was talking to I was talking to Dr. Janet this morning, and we were talking about our episode from Saturday. Um, and I kind of wanted to just talk about that a little. Saturday's episode was removed. We did have just a little bit of controversy surrounding, us being there and whatnot. I thought we had all of our ducks in a row. We did not have all of our ducks in a row. But it was a fun episode. We had a really good time being there. The building itself is a historic building. It is a beautiful building. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what we saw while we were in there, and kind of just the feel of the building itself. The organization itself, you can go online to the website and read a lot about the organization itself. If you're interested in the Oddfellows, it is a fascinating organization. It is a secret society, although I really didn't find it to be so secret. I think it just is different. So the building itself, like I said, is a beautiful building. It is a historic building in downtown Waxahachie. I do believe that is one of the reasons why that particular lodge is growing as quickly as it is growing. Is people want to go to these historic buildings, and they want to spend time in them. So I believe that that's one of the reasons why that particular lodge is doing so well. And they have gained a lot of members very quickly in that lodge. And so it can be a little dramatic for some folks who are not ready for that kind of burst of new people on the scene. So they have been around in that location for over 100 years. They have only missed meeting continuously twice, and one of those times has been during COVID. So they are back to meeting, but they were not meeting for a while due to the COVID. But they are back to meeting now. So the building, like I said, you walk into the building and it is a what's the word that I'm looking for? It is a traditional lodge. So where a lot of the other lodges have integrated, this lodge has not integrated. So it is men only for the Oddfellows, and they have their other for the women, it's the Rebeccas. So like the Masons have the Eastern Star. So for men, it's the Masons. For women, it's the Eastern Stars. So for men, it's the Oddfellows, and for women, they're the Rebeccas. Now, even the Masons have now integrated. Not all of the lodges. I'm sure it's a choice, just like this one is, whether or not you want to integrate females into your main lodge, or you want to keep them as an independent body. There was Amy. She was in the shot. She was in the shot. You want to say hi? There's Amy. She says hi. She's in the shot. There she is. So, so that is your decision. Your lodge. It's up to your lodge whether or not, and the lodge members will vote whether or not you want to have, a females in the main lodge, or if you want to keep them as an independent body. So, another traditional part about this lodge is, like most of the lodges, which I did not know, if you are in a downtown area and you see a building that says Oddfellows on it, it would be the Oddfellows building. And traditionally, what the Oddfellows did was they purchased a building to be able to hold their lodge in, and the bottom of the building would be retail spaces, and then the top of the building would be office spaces. And this building was the same. So at the bottom of the building, it still has retail spaces. So they still are keeping the historical part of that alive, where they do have retail space at the bottom of the building. And one of the retail spaces is operated by one of the brothers of that lodge. And then up above, they have turned the entire part of the upstairs building into just the lodge itself. So up above, the retail space used to be office spaces. So there was a bank up there. There were some other offices up there, and now it is all just the Oddfellows Lodge. So when you walk up the stairs, um, you walk up these neat old staircase, and then on the side, it had the electric chair, that you sit in and takes you up the stairs like that. So they had that. It's not operational right now, but I believe they were working on making it operational. So I'm a little uncomfortable in the sweatshirt, so I'm kind of squirmy. So when you get up to the top, you walk into the main dining hall area. So they have a big dining hall area, which they just remodeled. And if you go to their Facebook page, you can see the remodel that they did on the dining hall area. And it is beautiful. It is very spacious. There's a kitchen, tables and chairs long tables and chairs for them all to gather around so they can fellowship with one another and enjoy a meal. And that's where they begin with their new initiates. If you're interested in becoming an Odd Fellow, you would start with going to one of their dinners and having dinner with them to begin to get to know some of the lodge members, and the lodge members can get to know you as well. And then they have like a little ante room where they have prior to you entering the lodge room itself, which is called the lodge. So prior to you entering the lodge, they have a little ante room where they have some of their regalia that I'm assuming that you pick up your regalia and put it on prior to entering the lodge itself for your lodge meetings. So there's some of that regalia sitting there, and you can see that. And all of these things, I believe, are on their tour when they have Oddfest. They also give tours of the building itself. So all of these things that you can see when you're on the tour. And then if you arrive late to lodge, there's a little hole, and you have a secret knock that you knock on the door, and there's a guard there who is standing at the door, and they open the little hole, the little peephole. They open the little peephole, and they ask you for the password or whatever that happens to be. And then if you say it correctly, they know that you're a lodge member and you're allowed to enter. So then you enter into the lodge room itself, and the lodge room itself was beautiful. It's a large open room with paintings and photos of past lodge members and past office holders in the lodge. And it's just beautiful. And much like a Masonic, I believe the Masonics called their inner room a temple. So much like that specific room, there's chairs at the head and the foot of the room, and then chairs on either side of the room, and then what is referred to as, I believe, an altar in the middle of the room. So it would be just like a big table in the middle of the room. So you've got your officers that are holding office at either sides of the room, and then your lodge members that are sitting along the walls. And that's much like if you look at any if you go online and look at any Masonic photos of their areas, they do the same thing. So it's much like that. And so, if you're just a regular lodge member not holding office, then you would sit along the sides in the long pews that they have. So they also had like a piano, and I'm sure that there are other people who play music during the lodge meeting and things like that. So they also had like their charters up. So big, huge framed charter sitting on an easel. They currently had them draped for they had some deaths in their lodge members. So they had them draped for their memorializing them, and I'm sure that they're draped for a certain amount of time, and then they remove the drape. And from what I understand, it is quite the ceremony to come in and drape that, and it's very, you're memorializing your your fallen brother or sister. So I find that to be very sweet, and a great way to remember your friend and your lodge member and your brother or your sister in your lodge. And so, as you walked around the room, they had drawings and prints of, the path of the degrees. When you are initiate, and then you move through your degree work, which I found rather interesting. And I remember my dad telling me, like I said before, both of my grandfathers were Masons, and my grandmother was an Eastern Star on my mother's side. My dad's mother, Ma Court, was not involved in Eastern Star or Masonry in any way. But Dad said that Pa Court, his dad, so his dad is Pa Court, his mother was Ma Court, that's what we called them. And then Mom's parents, we called grandmother and grandfather. Pa Court, Masonry was his religion. And I always found that fascinating. And until I started doing research for this show, and then when we talked to Jim on Saturday, I never really understood how Masonry could be somebody's religion. And then after researching this show and doing as much work on the show as I did, I came to really understand why this type of a society, this type of an organization could really become your religion. Janet says that the Masons do a lot of memory work to move up the ladder, and they do that as well. I know that they talked a lot about the different. They were memorizing different things to be able to kind of move through your degrees, and they called them degrees, and Masons call them degrees as well. What we also found fascinating was that there was a lot of threes, a lot of things in the number 3. So 3 degrees for this, 3 degrees for that. Masons have 33 degrees. So the number 3 is repeated a lot, and I'm sure that you can look that up. There have been so many studies and so many shows and stuff done on these types of organizations that you can just look that up and figure out. I'm sure 1,000 numerologists have said, "Ooh, the number 3." But let me get some water. But as you move through the degrees, and it looks like there were more than just the 3. It looked like there are many degrees that you can go through with the Odd Fellows. But as you move through these degrees, you study. They're supposed to help in the study of the degree, help you along in your journey to become a better human. So I could see why Pa Court, why Masonry would have been his religion. I could see how you could make that a religion. So it was interesting that the imagery that's used, obviously a lot of imagery is used in any type of historic or ancient organization or anything, religion or anything like that, because most of the people at the time these images started coming out were illiterate, and they did not read or write or anything like that. So they would have needed, they would have used the imagery to teach a lesson. So you could look at that, and what it was, it was a big painting with a road, a twisty turny road, and at each turn there was an image of what that degree was that you were coming along. So you're initiate, and then you moved into this degree, and then you moved into that degree, and then this degree, and then up through. And if you go to their website, you can see all of this. So this is not I'm not giving away any secrets or anything like that. These are all on the websites. You can see all of these things and learn about all of these things yourself at any time. So as you moved through, this path that they were showing, you could see which degree you were going through. And then, you go all the way up, and you can branch off into different areas. And there were even some things that he had not seen before. So he was like, I'm not sure what that is or what that is. And I'm sure the further you go up into the organization, there will be other things that are offered to you that you would not have known as an initiate, or even in the first, second, or third degree. I believe our grandfather was a master mason, so he would have had a lot of knowledge about the organization, that other people who were just initiates would not have known. So, much like any type of organization, even a business, you don't get to know the accounting, and you don't get into the books unless you've been there for a while, and start are able to look at the books. So, you can kind of look at it that way. So it was very interesting to see all of that. And he was very passionate when he talked about it. And a lot of the stories, and again, these are things that you can find on the internet. They're all over the place, so you can do your own research. A lot of these working their way through their degrees were based on Old Testament stuff and things like that. So so they were based on some stories in the Bible and whatnot. So, which I can imagine, because Christianity really does run most of these. I wouldn't say run, but I would say moves through most of these organizations. I do feel like most of these organizations were started as social groups. They are fraternal organizations, so they're not service organizations or charity organizations or anything like that. There is a vast difference between those. And doing my research for the service organization or the civil organization series that we're doing, I discovered that there are many different organizations, and not all of them are civic organizations or service organizations. They're fraternal organizations, humanist organizations, secular organizations. I mean, the list just goes on. So this is a fraternal organization. So, this is about networking. This is about socializing with a group of people, much like a church. So I would say that it's very much like a church, where you go and you meet, on a certain day of the week, and you have, have church, and, then you can have dinner, and, singing on the grounds and all that kind of stuff. It seemed like it was very much the same like that. I really didn't find anything to be secret. I mean, obviously they're going to keep their degrees, and it's all, secret and all of those things. And, but I found it to be rather open and, inviting, for people. So it seemed like it was a very social place to be. They had a game room once you left their little lodge. Not little, it was a huge room. Once you left the lodge room itself, they did have a game room off to the side that had pool tables and stuff like that, where y'all can hang out and do this or that or whatever. So and be social with one another. So again, much like a church, you start with, you may have Wednesday night, we're going to go and have dinner with everybody at the church house, and then we're going to go and have services, and then afterwards we may hang out and watch a movie or whatever. It seemed very much like that. So and I could equate it to church because Dad's a preacher, and so we grew up going to church. That's what you did, and you all day singing and dinner on the grounds. So so it felt kind of like that. It was a beautiful building. There was a really neat historic things in the building. There was some stained glass that had been there since the building had been built. The floors inside the lodge were like original linoleum. So they were this really thick material that they called buffalo hide, but it wasn't really buffalo hide. It was really slick. So I was like, well, you could really boot scoot across this thing really quickly. So, and I do believe that there was a movie that was filmed in there. So, so again, nothing that you can't find on the internet. So they did have some they had glass doorknobs. Amy was fascinated. They also had these really ornate metal doorknobs that were beautiful. Again, the building itself was just gorgeous. Beautiful crown moldings, huge, 13, 14-foot ceilings. All of the doors seemed to be original. They had those windows at the top, for ventilation. And it was just really, it felt good in there. They had some displays of their historic regalia. So some of that. They had really neat ceiling tiles that had the three links, which is what the Oddfellows is. It's got the three links with. Now I can't remember what the three links mean. Well, let me look at my notes. Hold on. The three links that it was friendship. What was it? Hold on. Let me see. Well, I don't even remember now. I thought I wrote it down somewhere, but I had not. But you can Google that. Actually, I could probably Google it right quick. Google it right quick. Right quick, we'll Google it and see what it means. I can't believe I can't remember what it was. Oh, there it is. There we go. Friendship, truth, and love. Hey, Bonnie, there's Bonnie Joe. So it was friendship, truth, and love. So they had these ceiling tiles that had that on there, and it was really neat. So you would put those on your ceiling, and that was just beautiful. And they had some other really neat. Just beautiful, beautiful artwork in there, and lovely, like almost pencil drawings of people that were past lodge members. And it was a beautiful, it felt really good in there. The building itself felt really good. And we did walk past their closets where they kept a lot of their regalia. I know if you go on the website for the Dallas Lodge, you can see photos of what their regalia looks like, and it's fun. It looks like it's really, kind of puts you in that moment of where you need to be in the moment of your lodge itself. And again, much like a church, where if you were with the church choir, you would put on your choir robes before you went out to sit in the choir balcony for services, or like a priest would put his robes on before services, or preacher may put on some tassels or something like that before they go out there. So that type of regalia, which is it's beautiful, and you can find a lot of this historic regalia online. You can look it up and see what it looks like, and so that's really it was really fascinating to see. And it was really fascinating to be there. That, like I said, this, it's considered a secret society. And really, I feel like it's a secret society just because they want to keep their rituals and their degrees for their members. So I don't feel like, that they were keeping anything secret, in there. It felt really good to be in that building and learning about the Oddfellows. And you can read anything you want on the Oddfellows. I posted a lot of different articles. There's a lot of different links. You can go directly to the Independent Order of Oddfellows website and learn about them. Just like that. So there's a lot of information that you can get on the organization itself. But I would encourage you to go to downtown Waxahachie and look at the building. The building itself is beautiful. Downtown Waxahachie is really historic. It's neat. It's got a huge courthouse there. A lot of really historic buildings. They have a lot of gingerbread homes. If you don't know what gingerbread homes are, they're really neat looking homes that have a lot of decoration on them that's specific and is called gingerbread. So it's really neat. And they're on the gingerbread tour, and their building has been designated as a historic site. So all of that was really cool. But it was really neat to be there and to learn more about the organization itself and to get the tour of the building. Again, during Oddfest, which was canceled this year because of the pandemic. But during Oddfest, the next time they have it, I would encourage you to go to Waxahachie and go to Oddfest. They have a lot of local artists there that are doing stuff. They also give tours of the building during Oddfest. So it was neat. It was really neat to go. I'm sorry that we didn't have all of our ducks in a row, but it is what it is. But it was fascinating and really neat and cool, and we loved every minute of it, and we really enjoyed being there. There were so many things that I found interesting about being and learning, and the research that I did prior to this episode. There were a lot of really neat things. What I really find interesting is that as you're moving through your degrees, you have all of these other side degrees that you can do. So, you can move through your degrees and you can be in the Oddfellows and you can be serious, and but they have these other side appendants that are like for the ladies, they have the Ladies of the Orient, which from what I understand is struggling a little bit, and I again, this is not anything that I did not find on the internet, so struggling a little bit to keep around, but they are kind of the fun side of the ladies. And then the men have the Ancient Mystic Order of Samaritans, which you also have your degrees in each one of those as well, and they're more of the fun folks. The more they get to wear the fezzes, and they ride around on mini bikes, and they kind of are the jokesters of the group and everything like that. And so you can kind of move through into different areas, which I found rather interesting. And the Ladies of the Orient also have 2 degrees, and they've got the Ancient Mystic Order of Samaritans have the motto of "We never sleep." So those guys are probably having a really good time. So, but it's all really interesting. I did find it rather interesting. What I found really interesting was that the Black community were not invited to be a part of these groups in the United States. And there were, during the golden era of fraternal organizations, the Oddfellows were the most popular. They had the most members above and beyond Freemasonry, which I found to be very fascinating, because if you look at everything, really, people focus on Freemasonry. They don't focus on all of these other quote unquote secret societies or fraternal organizations. So if you just Google fraternal organizations, there's a huge list that comes up. And we did speak with a man while we were there that he was a member of 3 different fraternal organizations. And we were also there are some fraternal organizations, and I agreed with him when he said that some of them are just not appropriate anymore, and they're just not appropriate anymore. But and they were not appropriate then, but they are definitely not appropriate now. But the Black community was not invited to be a part of any of these fraternal organizations. So they actually went to, now the Independent Order of Oddfellows, it broke away from the main group of Oddfellows that started in England. I believe they're called the Grand United. I'm not recalling right at this moment, so don't quote me on that. You can Google it. But the Black community went directly to that body and requested a charter, and they were given a charter. And so they had a huge Oddfellows following here in the United States, along with Freemasonry and stuff, and other organizations. They also have a huge uh, uh, the Grand United Order of Oddfellows in America is what they're called, and their female pendant is called the House of Ruth. Um, so it's fascinating. You can just keep going. They've got the Ancient Free and Accepted Masons, the Elks, the Knights of Pythias, the United Brother of Friendship and Sisters of the Mysterious Ten. Like, who the heck is that? So, there's all of these fraternal organizations that are out there that you can look up and you can study, and again, all of that information is online, and you can see any of that. Lots of books have been written about it, lots of articles. I'm sure people have done their dissertations on it. So I'm sure that you can find that as well. So you can kind of really look into see what that is all about. The United Brothers of Friendship and Sisters of the Mysterious Ten. That sounds really interesting. So so there's that. There was something else I was going to talk about, and I can't remember what it was. But anyway, that's what I know, and that's what we did. And I'm sorry that the episode is not there, but we did have a good time. And maybe down the road we'll be able to do another episode after we get all of our ducks in a row, to see if there's not something that we could do at another time. But we will continue to do the civic organizations, and I'm not sure when we're going to do our next one, but we'll figure that out. So do you all have any questions that you want to ask me before we kind of wrap up? Dr. Janet, Dr. Helen, y'all got any questions that you want to ask? I don't know if I can answer them, but if I don't have the answer to them, but there you go. Also, Dr. Janet sent me this really cool thing. It's like 3D Halloween City up in here, and I can't stop staring at it. And I keep it on my chit-chatting desk so I can look at it because it's cool, and we love it, and we love Dr. Janet, so we appreciate that. But yeah, anything else that y'all want to talk about today that I haven't brought up? We could talk about right quick. I'm getting hungry so it's about time for me to eat dinner, because I go to bed early because I get up at the crack of dawn to run, actually prior to the crack of dawn to run. But that's it. That's all we've got. I do find it fascinating that they do bring in a lot of folklore elements. I agree with that 100%. It is, and it's across the board with all of the fraternal organizations that I research. They all bring in parts of folklore, which I think is very interesting. And I'm dying for Helen to get into this too, because there's so much folklore involved in these fraternal organizations, and some of the organizations that are no longer active at all. Some of them have completely dissolved. And so, where is the history of those fraternal organizations that have completely dissolved? I don't think that this United Brother of Friendship and Sisters of the Mysterious Ten, I don't believe that one is still around. So where is their history? Who has their history? That's what I would like to know. What were they all about? And would it be something that would be interesting to bring back now? There are so many people that are out there that are looking, especially during the COVID times, that are looking for something, to kind of do and see what, kind of have some sort of fellowship with one another. That it's interesting to see that these fraternal organizations are starting to kind of pick back up a little bit. Nothing like the golden age of fraternal organizations, but excuse me, we have this now that we can communicate on, and all kinds of social media that we can communicate on, to be able to network and to socialize with one another. So But I do think it's really cool. One of the things that I wanted to say that I thought was fascinating was while we were there, when we had finished up and we were leaving, and I was just kind of chatting with Jim a little bit, saying goodbye. A guy walked up and I thought I overheard him say he was an odd fellow from someplace else. So again, I mean, you can go anywhere and find most of these folks just out anywhere. Yes, thank you, Amy. That's another thing that I forgot I wanted to talk about. A lot of these organizations were put in place that for insurance reasons. So they offered insurance, like life insurance. So they also offered help to say, you know, you went and got yourself killed while you were hunting, you know, and now you've got a widow and children out there that need to be taken care of, and the brothers of the organization would then take care of your widow and their children. So that's really neat. And a lot of these organizations were started like that. The United States Independent Order of Odd Fellows focuses on orphans because the guy who founded it was an orphan, so he wanted to make sure that that was part of their creed, was that they were charitable in that way. So anyway, not so much needed anymore, but then they were needed. I don't know why they die out. I don't know, Dr. Janet, why they die out at all. But they do. So I guess people just, you know, they get to where they don't need them anymore. Maybe they close their doors and they don't want new members, and you know, people get cantankerous about that kind of thing. And you know, so when you grow too quickly, you can get concerned that you're going to lose some of your history. But yes, like Amy said, their orphans ended up becoming part of the organization. So so you know, you have these orphanages, and you know, and you bring them in so you can kind of keep your numbers growing. So that was really interesting. And yes, we are having Italian sausages and chicken Italian sausages brats for dinner tonight. So I forgot to say that as well. But that's it. I mean, I really didn't expect this to be going as long as it has been going, for almost 40 minutes. So do you have any other questions before I pop off? Anything that you have questions about on these that I didn't answer your questions about, you can reach out to any of the Oddfellow organizations, any of the lodges, and I'm sure that they would be happy to answer your questions. But that's it. I still need to find out where the United Brotherhood of Friendship and Sisters of the Mysterious 10 went. So I'll be looking that up, and maybe I'll do a little follow up of what in the world happened to them. I was so focused on getting as much Oddfellows information out there as I could that I forgot to look them up. Yes, Dr. Janet, y'all don't forget, we've got Dr. Janet on again this Saturday at 2:30, because what in the world is happening in October? We've got COVID running rampant in the White House. We've got, I lost count. Like, I had a list going and I can't even remember everything that's been going on. The census has been stopped. Voter voting is being suppressed. Like, what is happening right now? So go out and vote. Make sure you're voted. I believe early voting has started everywhere now, so make sure that you are voting. And we'll see you Saturday to hang out with Dr. Janet and kind of talk about what in the world is happening. I can't keep up either, Dr. Janet. I literally stopped making a list because I was like, I don't even know. So we'll talk about that, and I'm going to go eat. And if y'all got any more questions, holler at me, and we could talk about this again. We'll do another episode again on civic organizations. I'm not sure who I'm going to do next. I think I may go and hit the humanists up, because they sound really interesting. And they are big. There is a huge organization in Dallas. So that sounds really neat. So we may hit them up. Amy's hollering at me to get out there and eat dinner. So she's probably hungry too. So So we'll see you then. And happy chit chatting, y'all.